These days, you can fake just about anything. Fake nails, fake lashes, fake butts. Wait, I think I'm just describing the Kardashians. From spray tans to Sasquatch, it's never been easier to fabricate fiction from thin air. And I'm in on the hoax. With all the fakery flying around, it could be tempting to make up a market too. That's the reason why buyer personas tend to get a bad rap among data-driven marketers, since half the time, these personas are about as real as reality TV. But just as there are good and bad ways of enhancing your natural beauty, there's a better way to build your buyer personas too. Today on Marketing is Broken, I'm talking with Adrian Barnes, founder of BestBuyerPersona.com, about how to take your personas from faux to faux radio. Meet Director Dana. She's 37, lives in a 3-bedroom house on the outskirts of big East Coast city with her husband and their 2.5 kids. Dana works as a creative director at mid-size agency, where her biggest struggle is trying to keep tabs on 5 to 10 projects at once. Now, if you're hearing this and thinking, Dana is not real, and or Dana could literally be anyone with a pulse, then you're right on both counts. There's one huge problem with Dana. She's not real. Director Dana is a buyer persona, aka a composite of demographic information slapped into a sleek marketing one-sheet. Little pieces of Dana might be accurate, but she herself does not exist anywhere on this planet. So how the heck are we supposed to market to her? Also, where's the other half of that kid? What happened to this family? Knowing your customer is crucial to successful marketing, which is why personas exist in the first place. They're tools to help marketers keep their audience in mind at all times. But unfortunately, some of them are just pure fiction. If you've ever fallen into a trap of making up your market, or worse, being handed useless personas by a well-meaning client, then stick around for today's interview with Adrian Barnes. Adrian is the founder of BestBuyerPersona.com, where she helps companies identify and get to know their actual customers using interviews, surveys, and ongoing conversation.
What are the biggest benefits to using personas that you've seen?
Yeah. So um, when I'm talking about a persona, I'm not just talking about your standard B2B persona that we've all seen, where I like to call it your Sally Sales Girl persona, where you can say Sally Sales Girl is 22 and loves the color red and she's, angry at meeting quotas and just kind of like very super generic. When I talk about the best buyer persona, I'm really talking about using a jobs to be done approach to understanding motivations, core buying triggers. I'm really getting a full like 360 idea of who your customers really are. Um, some of some of the crazy data that I've seen out there, Profitwell has done a study that found, and I'm going to quote it, without data-driven buyer personas, companies cannot succeed in the subscription market. Uh, 1% of companies that have drilled down their buyer personas using data are what they call LTV beasts. They're crazy efficient and crazy profitable. So that's from Profitwell. They do all kinds of studies for SaaS companies who are my clients. And basically, they're just saying that if you are still using that standard B2B persona, you're not reaching your customers. You don't know who they are, and you're not going to be as efficient and as profitable as you could be if you really reached in and knew who you were trying to target and who you were reaching.
Yeah, so that's a great entry into the topic because I think when you hear personas, a lot of people have a different concepts of what goes into a good persona. So I appreciate you kind of backing up and kind of defining that. So have you seen people or companies fight over these different understandings of personas? And then what's the best thing to do if you see people kind of struggling with a common definition for what personas are and should be for a company?
Yeah. So the most common thing that I see people kind of struggling with within their own companies around personas is they want to have a certain number of them, which I don't quite understand. That I'll have clients who are like, "Well, we need 7 personas," and why would we need 7 personas? Like, I'm going to go where the data tells me to go. If you have 4 different types of customers, then that's how many personas you have. Like, why would I create more when that's not necessarily there? So the best way that I found to actually just combat or support any argument is just to go back to the data, and it's all voice of customer data through conversations and surveys. So we lay it out and I say these are the key insights that we pulled. these are things that your exact customer said. This is their lifestyle. This is who they are. And here's where they said it. So there's really very little room for argument when you're using data in that way, that quantitative data that is just black and white. It's not really like I haven't made it up. I'm not using like some vague database and some, strange thing. These are your customers' words. These are things that your customers have said are important to them, so that they behave in. So, I mean, once we go back to that data, it's really clear and easy, and usually there's not much of an argument from there.
That's great. So always going back to the data. So let's say somebody's just starting out with creating personas at their company or for their brand. What's the minimum viable process for creating personas, and like how much work is too much work?
Okay, so what I say is, first of all, you always want to have conversations with your customers. A lot of times people want to be like, well, we can really create it with just some surveys and some analytics from like, we'll do the tracking of the websites, and we'll go into Google and we'll get, a hot jar type mapping of our website, and that'll tell us who our buyer is. You have to get on the phone with your people. You have to talk to them. That's like number one. It doesn't mean you have to get on the phone with 100 people, but you do need to get on the phone with a few. I say minimum number that I found is about 10. And how you know you've had enough conversations is when you start to hear repeating answers, when things start to, like you've heard that before, you can almost anticipate what the person is going to say. Once you're there, you've kind of met that minimum viable point where you can say, okay, we kind of have a good idea. People answers are repetitive. We can move on from here. Second thing would be a survey. They're pretty simple to put together as long as you have an understanding of like survey design, how to ask questions in a way that aren't biased or leading. And then that way you can just kind of put it out to your list and ask a large group of people. The difficult part about that is analyzing and going through the qualitative data, but I mean, you don't have to make it crazy stressful. You could survey 25, 50 people, spend an afternoon kind of going through that data. The most important part, aside from like actually getting on the phone, is how you organize the data. You want to be able to pull out the key insights in a way that is easy to find and easy to reference, and not just easy for you to find, but easy for your organization to find. So that just means, what I say, the simplest thing you can do is open up a Google Excel, a Google Sheet, and create like categories that you want to basically pull all of the information into and copy and paste. And then it's not just you with the knowledge, you're able to share it with your entire organization, and everyone can use it.
That's great advice for getting started with personas. Adrienne Barnes, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
Are your personas all shine and no substance? Own up to it in the comments. And tell me how you're going to use this episode to fix those fakes. Hey, it's Josh from Brandish Insights. Thank you for watching Marketing is Broken. If you like this week's episode, please click below to subscribe or check out other episodes. And if your company could use more insights around your branding efforts, check out brandishinsights.com.